Jennifer, it's so great to be with you today. You're joining me from Options East for Women, a center that serves many women who need prenatal care. And I'm just wondering, can you tell us more about these services and more about Options East?
Great, I'd love to. Thank you for having me here. Options for Women East is located on the east side of St. Paul on Wiper Avenue. We exist to serve women that are dealing with unplanned pregnancies or anything within that pregnancy journey. We provide pregnancy testing, limited ultrasounds, education, any material assistance, but one of the cool things we've started about 10 years ago is our full prenatal program. So when a woman has an ultrasound and they choose parenting in that room, we are able to provide all of the services they need up until delivery and postpartum.
Wow.
So we have volunteer doctors that come in, provide all of the doctors' appointments, their testing, their labs, anything around there. We really try to give it holistic health so that we are dealing with physical, emotional, and spiritual needs.
So you just said all of your doctors are volunteers. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I think that's incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
We have pro-life doctors that come in after their full day with their practice, and they volunteer on their day off after work, and they give the time to those patients that need it. So they are able to get a bigger experience. These are moms that are making really hard decisions. They are usually single moms. They come from maybe very little support. Their housing is unstable, and they just need more. So between my licensed staff and those volunteer doctors, they're able to receive that.
Wow. And do women need to pay anything to be able to get these services at your clinic?
Everything that happens inside the clinic is no cost.
Wow. That is incredible. And you serve as the executive director, so can you tell us a little bit more about your role as executive director and even what led you to Options East and helping to serve women in these situations?
Sure. I've been there almost 9 years as executive director, and it's been a wild ride. This isn't one of those jobs you look for, right? That you kind of check the box and go, that's exactly what I'm going to do when I grow up. God puts you on a path and leads you there, and I'm sure every director has their story of that too. But in college, I got pregnant. I was one of those statistics and had that moment of decision of where do I go? I mean, I was brought up Catholic. I was pro-life.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 19.
Wow, okay.
I knew where the abortion clinic was because there was only one, and I had prayed in front of it with my family. So that moment is really tough because you have to really figure out where your values and beliefs align and if you're convicted for them. So that moment of decision, my boyfriend, now husband, basically just said, no.
Boyfriend, now husband.
Boyfriend, now husband.
Incredible.
So we just don't do that. That is, I'm going to stand by you, and that's something we don't do.
So you found out you were pregnant, and then you had a conversation about whether abortion was on the table and was an option.
Absolutely. Even though you think I'm not that person, I would never make that decision, right?
Right. And I assume that being in that situation, you can probably relate to the women that come in your clinic all the more because you yourself had those same thoughts going on in your mind.
It is a very hard personal decision to make. And to be in that moment, I feel for anyone who has to deal with that. They sell abortion as the easy ticket out. If I have the abortion, then everything in my life will be perfect. Everything else will fall into place. And I think that's the lie they sell, is that if I do this, everything else will turn out fine. And we know that that's not true.
Right.
So in that moment, I do have to say it was hard. Choosing to parent was hard. We were young, but we had great support around us, and that's what we want to give to the women who come to the clinic. We give them that love, that support, that family around them throughout the whole journey.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people in Minnesota are just learning about pregnancy resource centers and pregnancy medical clinics. You had mentioned that Options East is a pregnancy medical clinic. Can you tell us kind of what it's like on a daily basis there? I'm sure there's no typical day, but help us understand what happens in the morning, what goes on throughout the rest of the day, and what's it like at the end of the day?
No, it's so great. So we have medically trained licensed RNs that meet with our patients for pregnancy testing, STI testing, and treatment.
Okay, so very comprehensive services that you're offering.
Limited ultrasounds. We might be doing intake for prenatal care. We might be running labs. But on the other side, too, we also have education coaches that work with pregnancy and parenting education.
Oh, tell me more about the education coaches.
Sure.
What do they do? And
anything you would want to know. We want to make sure that you are ready and prepared for this pregnancy. So anything that could happen during pregnancy, anything that could happen afterwards with parenting, we'd like to keep them around, have their baby postpartum, come on back. We'd love to educate you some more. And with that, we put resources around that. So say you come in for a car seat class. Come in for a car seat class, you'll earn a car seat. Come in for safe sleep, then you'll earn a pack and play. So we want to be able to put that education with the pieces that you need to provide safety for that child.
So you're providing these women not only with emotional resources, but and mental health resources, you're also providing them with physical resources. You mentioned car seats, pack and plays. I'm sure there's lots of other things and services that you provide for that, and that is so critical because that's the way that we can help create a culture of life when we are providing what these women need. So that's really
absolutely
exciting. Has there been any surprises along your journey as the executive director? Even maybe a story you might want to share that helps you kind of think, this is a hard life, but I'm going to keep at it every day?
Well, we are super blessed. I mean, there's so many things that do come up and that God just puts himself right in there and you see his work being done. Our very first baby that was born in the prenatal program, kid you not, was born on Mother's Day. I mean, that's just, you can't make that up. That's just amazing. And that's just kind of how it flourished from there. And we have had so many women come in and say, oh my gosh, I don't know how I would have done this without you. When we let them know what's happening with the center, they can't believe it.
What are the things that they think have been the most critical needs that have been met for them at the center?
I think it's just that we're meeting them where they are. So we're not asking them to come to us. We're asking, they're coming in and we might be meeting them in a broken relationship, unstable housing, addiction, some really dark places. And we're meeting them there.
So those counselors would address even those areas of addiction and other things that influence their life as a mother and their pregnancy.
We've had prenatal patients that are in rehab, that are in shelters, that are couch hopping, in all different situations. And we're trying to use the resources we have around us to fill those voids while we're trying to take care of that medical piece.
Do you see an increase in stability for these women when you first meet them and then when they leave?
It's so great to see them like day one and then see them postpartum afterwards really thriving. It's amazing.
How long has Options East been in Minnesota and been in the White Bear area?
Sure. We have been on White Bear Avenue for over 33 years.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. We have been there a very long time. And with that, we've had so many people say, oh my gosh, I remember coming here back in the day. Or we're really well known by word of mouth. We have this beautiful big sign, if you've ever driven on White Bear Avenue. And that has really been the ticket for us, is that people know that we're there and they trust us.
And how many staff do you have at the clinic?
I have 8.
8 staff. And then how many women do you estimate that you see on a yearly basis?
We serve over 300 women a year.
300 women.
Mm-hmm. We delivered 28 babies last year.
28. You delivered 28 babies in the clinic with volunteer doctors.
Yes.
And the women received these services free of charge.
Yes.
What's holding you back from doing more and serving more women?
We're just limited by the number of doctors we have and funding. If we had more of both, this program could go anywhere. We could serve so many more women. We could add pieces to the program that we have yet to do.
What
that's
kind
really
of pieces is that? What does that look like?
Expand. We've always been looking for therapists, nutritionists, dietitians, things like that, to just expand those pieces that kind of fit right into the prenatal program with the medical.
That leads me to some other thoughts. We've talked a little bit about the Positive Alternative Grant and state funding for women and women in need in Minnesota. Can you tell me a little bit more about Options East and if there's a relationship with the Positive Alternatives Grant in Minnesota?
So the Positive Alternatives Grant was built for alternatives to abortion. With that, we decided to take that money, because that is my tax money, your tax money, that's my donor's tax money, and see if we can grow the program. And that's what we did. We put it towards a prenatal program, and we were able to grow it to where it is now. We started off pretty small because we knew there was a need. We just weren't sure how to fill it. Mm-hmm. And as that kept happening, more and more things needed to come in-house. Mm-hmm. And so we've built the program to where it is today, where almost everything's in-house. Mm-hmm. And they get to come back to that clinic for all of their needs. Mm-hmm. It's quite amazing. Delivery obviously happens at the hospital, but everything else happens in that clinic. Mm-hmm. By taking away that funding, you are taking away the chances for these women who are uninsured or underinsured to have this ability to have prenatal care. This is an absolute crisis in the state of Minnesota. These women don't have insurance. They have barriers to getting it or even finding out how to get it. So we work with them to get their insurance by the time they deliver. These are all things that happen throughout the pregnancy. I do have to say one goal when we started this that wasn't on the table that has actually happened. They come in without insurance or primary care physician. They don't understand health care. They go to the ER for all their needs. Once we've connected them to the prenatal program, they have then followed that physician to their primary clinic and have stayed with them. We're talking years after. So we've fixed, for at least that one person at a time, that healthcare need and crisis, that they are getting what they're supposed to have. So the idea that everyone is taken care of and has insurance and has a primary doctor is not true. That is something that totally needs to be dealt with. And again, one person at a time during a pregnancy, because they have to be seen. Otherwise, these women go undoctored and deliver at the ER. We are taking care of that one patient at a time.
So through the Positive Alternatives Grant, you're able to take care of these women and their children one patient at a time.
Yes.
And you've made a significant impact by giving them the stability of healthcare that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Huge.
If you didn't have the resources because of this grant.
Yes.
So it's clear that the Positive Alternatives Grant has made a huge difference for Options East.
Absolutely.
We also chatted a little bit about people's perception of pregnancy resource centers and pregnancy medical clinics. I know you recently shared a little bit in the news about your experience when you learned that our Attorney General said that clinics like yours and even pregnancy resource centers were not servicing women and were actually lying and were in some ways fraudulent. How did that make you feel when you heard that?
Well, the hardest part about that is that no one has come to my clinic, no one has called me, emailed me, texted me, and asked any of those questions. So for them to have all these answers, I'm not quite sure where they got that information. I think that's the hardest part of this, is that we show up to serve these women every day, and yet they're putting lies out there that are not founded. I mean, had they come into my clinic and found something, that would be different. There's been no communication, and it's story after story after story of all these lies, and they keep just telling the same story over and over, and people don't want to look any further. So they see that tagline and go, oh my gosh, crisis pregnancy centers? Oh no, we can't have anything to do with them. How dare they get funding? You know nothing about us, but you're not asking either.
So this is a false narrative. Do you think it's built to create fear so that people won't utilize the resources that you and others have in the state of Minnesota?
Absolutely. They're fearful of us because we believe in something else.
And what is that?
Is that all life exists and all life matters.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been great to be with you today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.